Again. All right, so you guys are in for an absolute treat. We're jumping into opportunities next, which we see from the nice little poll that we had earlier. A lot of you have used opportunities, which means a lot of you have probably gotten paid at some point in your life with Keller Williams. So what I'm so excited to do is to bring Monica Perry on. I'm going to spotlight you, Monica. Monica is out of, I hope I get this right, Chapel Hill, Greensboro, and Winston-Salem Market Center.
That's right.
I'm sure additional ones to come. She's an absolute rock star Market Center tech trainer, and she is going to chat all about opportunities. And she's got some amazing like pro tips and really like best use case for really managing your transactions, not just using opportunities at a base level. So I am going to spotlight you, Monica, and it is all yours to take over.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sydney. As Sydney said, we did talk about opportunities being the most used app so far by the people in this class. So with that being said, I would love for you guys to drop in the chat just a yes or no. You have used opportunities, you have not. And while you're doing that, I will take a moment to introduce myself. Like Sydney said, I'm out of 3 amazing market centers here in North Carolina. I'm also a labs advisor, a CES instructor, and I've been a licensed real estate agent since 2008. So I've got quite a few things that I handle, and I'm excited you guys are all here today. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Anyone who has taken a class with me before knows that I'm a huge fan of giving you guys resource guides, and today will be no different. I'm going to drop this in the chat for you. Sydney will also be dropping some things in the chat. I have some ideas of grandeur for everything I would like to cover in 45 minutes. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat, and please bear with me. I will be working between 2 screens. So if you see me look right or left, that's what I'm doing. So there's that resources guide for you guys. And let's go ahead and get started. So yes, a lot of you said you use opportunities. I see all of that in the chat. Some people did say no, but most people have said yes. That's great. So by now, you probably know that opportunities is what we use to facilitate our transactions. So we start our transactions there. This is how we start to get our documents going, things like that, right? But opportunities really does so much more than that. It's taken pieces of other technology that people have paid a lot of money for in the past, including me, and implemented it into the system for you guys. So the first thing that we're going to look at is setting up your pipelines for success. So let's go ahead and head over to Command, and I'm going to look at my opportunities applet. That's that handshake on the left-hand side. And remember, if you can't get a grasp on what these icons are, you can always click the white KW on the red background and pop that out. The green pipeline is your listings. The orange pipeline, if it looks orange to you, some people say red, is your buyers. And the purple pipeline is for those of us crazy enough to handle property management and leases. I have 1 residential rental, and that is quite enough for me, at least for right now. It comes with a lot of stuff behind it. So let's take a look at the broad overview of our opportunities. So this is one of those where you get the old adage of a database. If you put junk in, you get junk out. The more information that you put into your opportunity, the more you're going to gain back in terms of insights into your business. So you can see up here on my listings pipeline, I have 3 cultivating right now. We're going to come back to this cultivate phase in a minute. I have 2 in appointment, 5 in active, 3 under contract, and then with the closed phase here, they only hang out in there for about 24 to 48 hours before they drop out. So over on the right, you can see I'm showing potential income, that's gross commission income or GCI, of $106,375,000, right? However, my probable income is a lot less, right? It's $40,665. Why, Monica? Why is that the case? That is because each one of these phases has a certain percentage chance of closing. These are set by default. If you already have those numbers in your business, you do have the opportunity to go in and edit those percentages If you're just getting started, just leave them as they are. They give you really good look into what you have coming down the pipeline, right? So let's talk about the cultivate phase a little bit. This is probably one of the most underutilized pieces of opportunities. And to talk about this, I want to reference page 27 in your Shift book. If you do not have the amazing book Shift yet, I know lots of us get tired of hearing the word shift, and it's still important. So we're going to jump into page 27. And we were talking about this on Monday, Sydney, I believe. Nothing becomes more critical to success than finding motivated buyers and sellers and closing them to an appointment, right? I'm going to read that one more time. Nothing becomes more critical to success than finding motivated buyers and sellers and closing them to an appointment. So we see our appointment phase right here, okay? However, before that appointment phase, we have the cultivate phase. So what the cultivate phase is through your conversations. Chris Cox did a great job about adding your contacts and the people that you should be adding. And then Jeffrey followed up with that with smart plans and ways that we can systematically reach out to our database with frequency and intensity of communication per the MREA, right? If anyone raises their hand and says, I actually was thinking of buying, but now I see the interest rates are going up, so now I'm just not sure, right? Those are the people that you go ahead and enter them into cultivate. Well, that's okay. If you were going to buy, when might that be? Well, my son is a rising senior, so if I was going to buy, it would probably be after he graduated from high school. That's great, right? You can go ahead and create that opportunity under cultivate so that you can be nurturing that transaction, because I don't know about you guys, but I hope to be in business at the end of the next school year. So I'm going to need business then too, right? I need now business and I need tomorrow business. So use that cultivate phase. It's okay if they say it's 6 months. It's okay if they say a year. It's okay if they say a little bit further. The more you have in cultivate, the more opportunity you have to close them to an appointment. No pun intended on the word opportunity. Maybe that's why they named it that, right? An opportunity to make money and help families realize their real estate dreams, right? So let's dive in a little bit deeper. We've taken a look at the pipelines and all the fun stuff that comes along with it. Down here at the very bottom, we see it broken down by listings, buyers, leases, probable and potential income, and the number of opportunities you have hanging out in each section. We also see a list of what is closing this month down here at the bottom, right? Yes, John, keeping them in cultivate is a great spot to park, right? We're parking people in there that they're raising their hand, maybe a little timidly, but they're getting ready to go. We got to get them over the line, right? Get them over the line. So let me get back here. So now let's talk about customizing these opportunity pipelines. And on this page that I gave you guys, it's got links to answers, articles. I know that people learn differently. A lot of people learn really well from video. A lot of people like to read directions and really get a visual on that. So I tried to give you visual representation of everything that I'm going to cover. I have a tendency to get a little excited and talk a little fast. So don't worry, you're going to have the recording and you're going to have these resources here. So each of these 5 phases, and you'll see that the phases are the same for each of our pipelines. These were agreed upon by the agents that built Command with KWRI, that for every listing, buyer, and lease, we have these 5 phases, right? We have the cultivate phase. We have the appointment phase, the active phase, under contract, and closed. It was agreed that all 5 of these happen for each transaction. However, that is where the agreement ended. So if you click into any of these phases, I'm going to go ahead and go with active listings. You're going to see that you have stages below the phases, right? Stages below the phases. These are fully customizable to your business. And I have customized mine, right? I have my staging phase that came prepackaged with Command, but I also added just listed. because in my business, when I was actually selling, when I just listed a property, there was a whole lot of stuff that I did right in that short window of time. Okay. Then we moved past just listed into that showing phase. We're having our showings, we're getting our feedback. Somewhere in there, I might host an open house. So I added open house. And then we move into negotiations prior to going under contract, right? So just listed and open house are two stages, pardon me, that I added to my command. Now on that resource guide that I gave you guys is my checklist. So I'm going to let you guys take a look at that. Within each of these stages, we can set up checklists, right? I need checklists in my life. I juggle a lot of balls, as you heard from the multiple titles and market centers that I represent, right? I have to have checklists to keep myself on track. Now, back in 2008, when I started selling houses, I had paper checklists. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to use paper checklists, you just go on and do that with your business, right? We are all independent contractors and we have every right to do our business how we want. My only goal is to show you guys, yes, Sydney, checklist equals sanity. My only goal is to show you guys what you can do with this system, and checklists are very important to me. I'll give you an example because I like for you guys to learn from my mistakes. I was notoriously bad for forgetting to order my seller closing documents from the closing attorney. So, the buyer's agent was getting the buyer stuff done. They told me who the attorney was. I was supposed to call the paralegal and say, hey, since you guys are handling the closing, if you would, please go ahead and get my seller documents going for closing. I always forgot to do it. And Pat at Kangaroo and Porter can tell you how many times I called and I was like, I'm so sorry, Pat. I forgot to tell you to do my seller documents. Well, had I had these checklists, maybe that would not have happened. Okay, so I gave you guys some tips and tricks in these answer articles here, but we're also going to demonstrate. Okay, so let's go into just listed. So here in just listed, right, you can see my opportunity has 6 checklist items on this little card, right? So if I come up to the upper right corner and I click edit stages, you can see this is where I have the ability to add a stage, like I told you I did with my open house and my just listed, right? So I could add a stage. I could delete a stage if I don't feel it necessary to have. I can delete that stage. Then I don't have that stage any longer, right? Then with each of these stages, I can set up checklists. So let's look at this checklist. This is my active staging checklist. So I need to call or text that the photographer is coming. Don't forget to get your cars out of the driveway. Place a sign at the house. Home warranty writer if I'm using it. A lending sign placed at the house if I'm using it. The lockbox. The photographs got finished. Create my marketing materials. Put the property into the MLS. And on and on and on. All of the things that I would need to do when I've listed a property, right? So I can come down here to the bottom and click add item. And when I click add item, I can type whatever I want. I'm just going to say test for day of command, right? And then I can save that item. Now I've added an additional item to my checklist. This checklist will apply to any opportunity that you drop into your active listing pipeline under the stage staging, okay? So any opportunity that gets put into this phase and stage will have this checklist set up to use, right? Now, that being said, if you want these checklist items to become a task for you, that takes one step further. But before we go there, does anybody have any questions about where I access these checklists? Oh, one more thing I want to show you. Where I gave you guys my opportunities checklist, I actually got this from somebody else. We are KW and we're a company of R&D, rip off and duplicate. And so what I did is I changed this checklist that I got from an agent out in Texas to my North Carolina appropriate stages and phases. Okay, so the green is listings, and then at the bottom you have a tab for buyers. Okay, so these are all of the things that I do under each phase and stage, and I will show you that, Andrea. And I'm going to show you guys how you can use the checklist I've provided to you to make your life easier when you're adding these checklists. Now, does it take time to set these checklists up? Yes, I'm not going to lie to you. It does. These are one of those times that I tell the agents in my market center, sit back, turn on your favorite tunes, grab your favorite beverage, and we're going to have a little copy and paste session, right? So I'm going to open up active staging, boom, checklist down to the bottom where I'm adding an item. And then I'm going to come into my opportunity checklist and look at active staging. And I'm going to copy and paste each one of these items into my command checklist. At the end of it, you will thank yourself because you will be able to use these checklists over and over again to make your business better, more streamlined, and more systematized. Okay, so let's look at it one more time. I'm going to go back to my opportunities pipeline. To get to where I can edit my checklist, we'll go into a different one. We'll go down here to buyer for right now. I'm going to open up my buyer appointment stage by clicking the little icon. Once I'm here, I can come into the upper right corner and click edit stages. Here are my two stages under buyer appointment. This one has some checklist items, but look, this kept does not. So let's use this one as an example. Okay, I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet and click on my buyer, and we're under appointment kept. So I need to add parties to the contacts in command. So I'm going to copy, go back to command, add item, paste, save, add item, spreadsheet, highlight, copy, click, paste, save, right? So not hard to do, but a little bit time consuming. When I set these up for myself, I got myself a nice glass of wine. Shout out to Chris for saying that moms drink wine. We do. I'm not going to lie. And I turned on some Frank Sinatra, right? And I sat here and I copied and pasted and copied and pasted. But guess what? Now I get to use this over and over again for every opportunity I ever close in command, right? So is it worth the time to set it up on the front end? Probably, but that's up to you to determine, okay? So now, does anybody have any more questions? Yes, Melissa, it's on the sheet. Thank you, Sydney, for dropping that in the chat. Does anybody have any questions on how we did this? And I'm going to move into the next little section that these checklists can help us out with as well. Any more questions?
Monica, this is Andrea Walker.
Hey, Andrea.
Hi. Did I understand that correctly, that once you put it in any one of the
Stages.
that it'll just be there for every opportunity going
Correct. If you're doing it from here, clicking into the specific phase, and then coming into the upper right corner and clicking edit stages, then any opportunity that falls into that phase and stage will have that checklist associated with it. But next, I want to show you guys how to make it a task. So before we go there, does anybody have any questions? Any other questions? We good? Going once, going twice, sold. Awesome. So now let's say that I do have a listing and it is active and it is in the staging process. And I'm going to say, okay, so I did this, right? I did this. And I do need to put this lending sign and home warranty sign because I promised my folks that I would. So I'm going to come over here to the right. Remember, I'm in a specific opportunity now. I'm not in the more broad view where I'm setting it up for use over and over again. I'm in this specific opportunity for the listing of 600 Quarterstaff Road. I'm going to come over to the right of dropping off my home warranty rider. I'm going to click set due date and say that I need to do this tomorrow, Thursday, the 21st at 2:30 p.m. and click OK. So now guess what's going to happen? Tomorrow, July 21st at 2:30, I'm going to get a task that says, hey girl, don't forget to go by 600 Quarterstaff Road and put that home warranty rider on your yard sign, right? And I can do this for, is there any way to make the task box bigger so you can see more than 3/4 of the task at the time? That is a great question. No, at this time there is not. Also, on that resources guide that I gave you, look down here at the bottom under resources, right? Using command and have a great idea, ideas.kw.com. Go there, see if your idea exists. If it does, go ahead and vote that up. If it doesn't, go ahead and add it, right? Now, it doesn't affect me. I'm working on a 32-inch monitor that my laptop is connected to. However, if I was only working on my 13-inch laptop, I could see where that might be a little bit small. But at this time, no, there is no way to change it. But that is a great question. That is a great question. Anybody else? Does that make sense? Do tasks come to your emails or can it? Or must you sign into command to see your task? The task, that's a great question, Lynn. The task will show up on your home screen. So let me go ahead and go to my home screen of command. You're going to see your tasks. I'm going to close some of these windows so we don't go slow. So I have one task that's due right now that's actually past due. But if I go into due tomorrow, oh, I thought I gave it a due date and time, then it will show up here on the task screen. I must not have saved that. Normally it doesn't, and I've done it before, so I know that it works. But it will show up here, and it will also show up on the home screen of your command app. So that's one of those things, tasks, that I love in the command app. And if we have time, we're going to jump into that and take a look at opportunities and tasks. Love to see a list of what you have to do today compiled with an email. I get that. I get that. That is definitely a feature request that we can put in, right? And remember, guys, we built this system. We built this platform. And what happened when we built it is that KW went wide because we wanted to get there first. We wanted to be the first real estate company that built our own technology powered by our agents, built for our agents. So now that we've gone wide and built this entire system, our development team is able to go deep. So they're getting to the point where we're now really integrating new pieces into each one of our applets and growing them. And I wouldn't say that we would never see new applets since some space was left down here on the left-hand side, right? It's a growth process, just like these things right here, right? I always compare command to your cell phone or your tablet because it's the same thing. It's got pre-installed apps. It's got an app store up here in your marketplace. You're going to have apps that you use more than others sometimes, right? We predominantly probably use contacts, tasks, and opportunities, but that doesn't mean that there's not other stuff that we have there. If we have a buyer appointment, but the house doesn't work, how do we delete the home address and put it back into Cultivate, or do we not worry about the home address? That's a great question. Yes, you can absolutely change if a buyer has an opportunity, falls through, right? The specific home falls through. I'll actually show you how you can do that really quickly. And then I want to jump back in. Actually, I'm going to wait. I'm going to show you that after we finish this, because the next thing that I want to show you is still in those checklists. So let's get there first.
That's it.
And then we're going to go and look at that, right? So any other questions pertaining to checklist items and how we make them a task by giving them a due date in the specific opportunity? Everybody good? The next thing I want to touch on is client updates. So same thing, right? Come here. We're going to go back to our edit stages button. I'm going to come down here into this just listed that we were hanging out in and go into my checklist. You can also make these client updates, right? The thing I will warn you about when you're making them client updates is to make sure the verbiage is client facing, right? So post just listed on social media, that's for me. That's saying, hey, Monica, go post this just listed house on social media. For my client, what I want them to see is we posted your just listed on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, right? We just mailed a just listed postcard out to 200 of your neighbors. That is client facing verbiage. So anything that you're going to check off as a client update over here in your checklist, just make sure that the verbiage is client facing. Does anybody have any questions like on that? Everybody good? Check in the chat. Fantastic. Okay, so now let's look at what this looks like. In order, and your directions are here, in order to set up client updates, you need 3 items. In your checklist, you need things checked off with client-facing verbiage as client updates, where we were just looking, right? And then we need to make sure that in the specific opportunity, so I'm going to click into here. I'm going to open up this one right here. Up here, you can see that my client updates are turned off. If I want my client to receive client updates, I need to turn it on. So I'm going to click on the client updates button. I want to make sure that I turn this on, right? What time do I want my client to receive their update? So if I, in fact, go in and complete some items today that are checked off as client updates, what time of day would I like my client to get the email? You can set a standard for this back in your settings, but say this particular person works 3rd shift, right? And so you actually want them to get this in the afternoon at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock before they go to work, right? Then you can change it for this specific person as well within their opportunity, okay? So we have to have checklist items checked off as client updates, and we have to make sure that they are turned on for the specific opportunity. That's 1 and 2. Questions? 3, we have to check the items off, y'all. If we don't check off the items, it cannot spark the email to go, right? It can't make the email go out to our client if we don't go in and check the checklist item off, right? So let's go in here. Oops, my bad. Let's go into active. Let's go to just listed, and let's say, okay, here's my just listed checklist. I need to come in here and check off that I completed these items by saying, yes, I posted it on Facebook. Yes, I mailed out the postcards, right? So now, since my client updates are turned on here in the checklist and here in the opportunity, and I've now checked off some of those items, then magically, my client is going to get an email at whatever time I have set up that's going to look like this. Updates for 5651 Farmstead Road. Mr. Seller, we are checking things off the list. Here's a summary of the tasks we completed for your address. If it is a listing, it's going to have an image of the listing, okay? If it's a buyer, there will be no image. We posted your just listed on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We mailed out a just listed postcard to 200 of your neighbors, and we posted your virtual tour on TikTok. So these were the 3 items I checked off, and this seller has received this update email from me. And I'll tell you what, Chris Cox referenced the NAR Generational Trends Report this morning. One of my favorite things to look at every year. It usually comes out between March and April, right? It tells you what is the #1 thing that a client is looking for in their real estate agent. And way up at the top is good communication. Good communication. So this is a way that you can deliver that. So I hope you guys think that this is really cool. I love the opportunities checklist. And one more thing I'll show you on them is if this specific opportunity has an outlying task that doesn't fall under your normal realm of tasks that you would do. An example, I had a listing over in Ardmore. If you're from Winston-Salem, you'll know where that is. The guy was a doctor. He was moving out of state. So he was actually going out of state to get his new home ready for his family. And he called me and said, hey, gosh, I hate to ask you this, but you have access to the house. And I really need to have the grass mowed. And my guy called and said that he was sick and he can't come and mow the grass. Could you please get me somebody over there? Yes, I can, sir. Of course I can. So I need to get the grass mowed. Right? I'm not always going to do that for a listing, but in this one specific instant, I needed to get this done for this gentleman. So maybe I want to get that scheduled this afternoon after I'm finished teaching this class. Then I can save that and have it show up for me as a task. Does that make sense? So we can do these one-off checklist items for a specific opportunity. All right, any questions on that? Everybody feeling good? I love that, Sydney. A great example on delivering what you promise. Absolutely, absolutely. Anybody else? Good? Okay, so one more thing in setting ourselves up for success in our opportunities is our custom tags. So we talked about custom tags in our contacts. I love using custom tags in my opportunities as well. So you can see that this specific listing was a Facebook lead. They are downsizing, and I put 2022 because that way I can search my opportunities for every opportunity that I did in 2022, right? So let's talk about, first of all, you can just add them. So if I'm creating an opportunity and I'm here under custom tags, I already have some created, but I could say, test contact or test day of command, right? I have the ability to create that tag just like I did in contacts, right on the go, and then I can use it moving forward. But I can also come here into the upper right corner of command, click on my settings. Settings takes a minute to load, so we're going to give it a little grace while I take a sip of water for it to open up. We'll wait, no worries. I think settings just has so much going on in there, it's always a little slow to load. So we'll just let it do its thing for a second. Does anybody have any questions in the meantime? And while we're waiting for this, actually, Sydney, if you would drop my poll, that would be great. That poll will ask you guys, we were just talking about checklists. Did you know that they were there? So we'll let Sydney get that poll up. Oh, we're neck and neck. Oh, the nose got it. The nose are getting it. All right. Well, look at that. All right. I'm going to go ahead and, oh, they're still coming in. Nice. So look at that. We'll share those results. Look at that. So the nose got it, but not by much. So that's great. You guys know what you're doing. You've been in here getting into those opportunity checklists. I love that. Okay. So now that we're back here in settings, we can come into command settings, opportunity settings, and here are those opportunity tags. So again, if you got tag happy, like I did, you can come in here and clean those up, right? Or you can maybe do a better assessment of what kind of tags that you would like. So what I found that I liked is, where did I get this piece of business from? When I was selling first responders, teachers, police, and military, I did everything for them at a discount, and I gave them a home warranty for free. That was just part of my business plan. So I have that first responder tag in here, so I know that I'm adjusting my commission rate up or down. So you can decide what these are. The other great ones are who is facilitating a specific thing, part of my due diligence process in North Carolina, for my buyers. So who's the closing attorney? Who's the home inspector? Who's doing the radon, right? So I've added some of those tags in as well. So hopefully you guys like that. Any questions on that before we move forward? I do really like those opportunity tags. Cool. Nothing in the chat. Awesome. Okay. So Next up, we're going to talk about the actual creation of opportunities, which I know that you guys are already familiar with, but if you're new, I want to make sure that we touch on it, right? And I've given you guys in the chat this path to get paid. My agents love this. It's a good visual representation of the workflow that we use in opportunities. So if you did not know that opportunities was a workflow, surprise, right? Millions of dollars are spent every year on companies that need a workflow for something, and we have it built right into our system, okay? So following the path to get paid is the easiest way to make sure that you're doing everything you're supposed to do to stay compliant, to get paid as quickly as possible, to keep your MCA with a smile on their face. Make sure you hug your MCA today. They are amazing, amazing folks that get us paid, and they have a lot on their plate, right? So let's work to make their lives easier. So steps 1 through 6, we're going to make sure that we first enter our contact into command, right? Then when that contact decides to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, you're going to create an opportunity for them, okay? If it's a listing, go ahead and drop that address and that opportunity name for your MCA. If it's a buyer, it's going to default to Dakota Perry -buyer, buyer one - what they're doing, right? So that's okay if you don't have a property picked out yet, but as a favor to your MCA, once you do go under contract, let's go ahead and get that address added. And I'm going to show you guys where to do that, okay? This is the most important part, especially if you're using DocuSign. Once you create that opportunity, and we're going to go through it together, make sure that you pick a checklist type. We're going to pick a checklist type, whether that be a residential sale, it's a vacant land sale, it's a commercial sale, whatever type of sale it may be. And I'm going to show you guys why that's so important. Okay, so any questions on this? And thank you, Sydney, drop that in the chat for you guys. I appreciate that so much. Everybody good? So let's go in and create an opportunity for Captain Marvel, our test contact for today. I already had the amazing Sydney in my command database, so I had to fudge the email a little bit because it won't let me create a duplicate contact. But nonetheless, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to create an opportunity. By buyer and seller in the chat, would you rather see me do a buyer opportunity or a seller opportunity? Go in the chat now, buyer or seller. Oh, tied. Need more than that. All right, the buyer's got it. Oh, okay, we'll go with buyer. All right, so I'm going to go into my opportunity type and pick buyer, okay? Client is Captain Marvel. I'll take this moment to mention if you are on a team, and that includes productivity coaching, I'm not going to deep dive into teams today. You need to make sure that you're creating the opportunity under your team, which means that your contact also needs to be under your team account. If you have questions about that, reach out to your Market Center Tech trainer or the leader of your team, your rainmaker, to make sure you're getting that done correctly, okay? So you can see Captain Marvel is the buyer, -buyer is my opportunity name by default, okay? So if you already know what the property address is, you can drop it in. Again, if it's a listing, go ahead and put that property address into your opportunity name. You can still have the client's name, just put the address in as well. Here's where we can go ahead and give it those custom tags. So maybe this is a 2022, and we're going to say Captain Marvel is moving up in the world. So they are a move up, and they're going to buy a luxury property. So I have all those tags, and I got them from my SOI or sphere of influence. So those are the tags that I might use, okay? Again, guys, put junk in, get junk out. What is the estimated closing date? When you had your listing appointment, if you've had your listing appointment, or if you've had your buyer agency consultation, right? What did they say their goal was? I want to be in my new home by September 30th. So that's what we're shooting for. Go ahead and put that in. It's not required, but it helps to keep you on track to your goal, right? So their time frame is about 3 months. We're going to give them a budget. That's one number, not a range. So luxury floor in a lot of places is 700,000. That's what it is in mine. So maybe their budget is 700,000. My half of the commission is going to be 3%. And I'm always wanting to make sure that I move them through their phases and stages. Okay. So if we're about to meet tomorrow, maybe we're under appointment and we've already scheduled that. The furthest we can take these is active negotiation. We cannot create an opportunity under contract. We have to start before under contract. So I'm going to stick with appointment scheduled because we're going to meet tomorrow. Okay. Any questions on that? Checking the chat. Awesome. I'm going to click create here. And now I'm actually in the opportunity. So if you guys did not know this, these dates right here, these actually populate our goals in Command. If you put junk in, you get junk out. If you put good data in, you get business insights, i.e., how long does it take for me to get somebody from an appointment was scheduled to close? If you don't give the system the data, it can't give you the insights back. So the first thing I always like to do is pop in here and click my pencil. Sometimes it's hard to see. It's up there in the right corner of each box in the details tab of the opportunity. Okay. We scheduled our appointment today. We're holding our appointment tomorrow. We're just going to look into the future and say, I landed that buyer. Of course I did. I'm a KW agent. And we don't know contract or close date yet, right? Because we haven't made an offer. I do know the budget and I know that they're going to go with conventional loan. Okay. Put those details in there. It does yourself a favor there. Okay. And then once I do identify a property, I can do that here. Right? So looking back at that path to get paid, we've entered our contact. The contact decided to buy a property. I've now created their opportunity. And now I need to pick a checklist type. And let's look at that and say why. I'm going to come into my documents tab right here, come to my left, click pick a checklist type. They're buying a house, so it is residential. Each market center has its own checklists. So this might not look just like yours, right? But this is showing you the documents that my market center requires me to turn in, or optional documents that I might need to turn in for myself for this specific transaction that might either be optional or conditionally required documents. These beautiful teal tags to the left that say DS stand for DocuSign. So your market center tech trainers, your MCAs, whoever in your market center handles this may have already set up this auto mapping for you, okay? So what happens now that I've picked my checklist type first, I can see here in the consultation phase, these are documents I'm going to need. In my under contract phase, I'm going to need that offer to purchase. I'm going to need some affiliated business disclosures, right? And these are the documents I would need in my close phase. So if it's got a DS, then when I come up and start a transaction in DocuSign, watch the magic happen. As Jason Abrams says, they're going to auto-magically appear in my DocuSign room. I've definitely stolen the word auto-magically and added it to my dictionary on my computer because I love it so much. Okay, so I'm going to log into my DocuSign account. It is going to have created a DocuSign room that is now tied to my opportunity, right? And watch what happens. Boom, all of my documents are there. My offer, my working with real estate agents brochure, some samples, right? I'm supposed to give samples to my buyers here in North Carolina. My affiliated business disclosures, my professional services disclosure, they're all there and ready for me to begin filling out. If you don't pick a checklist type first, you don't get that auto mapping. Does that make sense? So that's why, go ahead, honey.
I've done opportunities, but it doesn't work that way. I have to always include these documents. Where exactly is that checklist that you're saying that you have to?
I'll show you one more time. So when you create an opportunity, right? And then I don't think I'll be able to, let me just get into one. It would bring you to this screen once you hit create, okay? You're gonna move into your documents tab. And I've already picked a checklist type in this situation. Normally on creation, it would be blank. But then I would come to my left, this little drop down right here. And I would pick, is it residential, vacant land, whatever checklist my market center has set up for me. And once I do that, if my market center has set up the mapping, when I click start a transaction, it will put those documents into the opportunity for me. I mean, into the DocuSign room for me, excuse me.
So I guess my market center has not done the mapping.
Be looking for the TLDS. If it's not there and your market center wants to set them up, feel free to have them reach out to me. I just actually set it up for a market center that wasn't my own, and I never mind helping. Okay.
Yeah.
Reach out to me. All right. So let's go back now to the question we got previously. I'm going to go to my All Opportunities tab and open up our Captain Marvel opportunity that we created. So I was asked earlier, I had a buyer, I've turned in documents, I've done my consultation, I put it in an offer, we went under contract and then the offer fell through. Now what do I do? Okay, so I'm just going to upload something from my computer for the sake of showing you guys how this works. You just grab a document here, like so. So say that I had already turned all this into the market center. I had all my items already turned in and approved, and then my deal fell through. The big question I always get, do I create a new opportunity? No, it's the same opportunity. The opportunity is selling this buyer a house, right? What you are going to do is you're going to come over here to under contract. You're going to drop this down. You're going to add a new version of the checklist. So I'm going to show you that one more time. The buyer's deal fell through. We're going to come into our opportunity, to our documents tab. We're going to come over to this little drop down caret. Got a little tip here, right? Anytime you see the eye in the circle, you have a tip. We're going to drop this down and we're going to click add version. And so this is going to be our new offer on, ooh, Monica can't type today. Why can I never type when I'm on camera? That's a great question. 123 Main Street. Okay, it's the most sold property in the whole United States of America is 123 Main Street. I get to create a new version of my checklist. It's a nice, clean checklist. I didn't lose my old copy. It's still there for my records as an agent because I have to keep it, but I got a new clean checklist that I can use. The next thing I'm going to do is move into my details tab. This was all already synced to DocuSign. Okay, it was already synced. I had the address in there. So now I'm going to click my pin here and I'm going to say, no, never mind. We're not buying 567 Maple Street. We're buying 123 Main Street in Knoxville. Okay, we changed which property we're buying. So I'm going to pick my new property in my address that's auto popped by Google. I'm going to click save. So now I've changed it and you can see it says I've edited the address, right? So maybe I also had to change my closing date because we had to push it back to the 29th. Oops, that was my appointment. I need to change my closing date to the 29th now, and I'm going to save that. Okay, so now I've changed something else. Now I need to click up here. There are 4 fields that are ready to be synced with DocuSign. So I'm now going to click this sync transaction. The latest transaction information will be sent over to your connected document manager. Do you want to proceed? Yes. Confirm update. That just updated the details of your DocuSign room. So we have a fresh checklist for our new documents. Our consultation documents, we had already turned them in. They're approved. We don't have to redo that. What we need to do is add our new documents to our under contract folder. So we have that fresh checklist for our new offer on 123 Main Street. And we have updated the details in Command and then made the sync over to DocuSign. So that is now updated. Okay. Any questions on that?
I have a question, Monica.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if a buyer transaction fell through, after you made the offer, you put the offer in, it was accepted, but before you maybe even went to inspection, I don't know, something, whatever reason it fell through. So you would do this, which you just did, and then move on to a new one.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Well, not a new opportunity. I would
Right,
just.
just a new version,
Correct.
right? A new version.
I would rewrite the offer to purchase for the new property. The syncing to DocuSign already changed the address. So if I were to go to DocuSign now, make sure I'm in the same one, Captain Marvel, yes. If I were to come in here now and go to the details, I'm going to hit refresh just to make sure it updated. I'll give that a second. And now if I open this offer to purchase, say previously we offered on 576 Maple Street, but now because I did the sync of my details, my offer is going to show that I'm making an offer on 123 South Main Street in Knoxville.
Okay, so the other one that fell through, would you then archive that?
Nope, it didn't.
Would you have to,
It didn't give you anything to archive. You're still.
I mean, right here in your documents?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question.
You would like,
The signed,
you would
the
archive
signed
the O2?
versions. Yeah,
Yes, the 2T.
yeah. The signed versions of your documents, what I personally do is come up to actions. I add a folder and then I say like 576 Maple fell through. Because I need to keep the documents for my records as the agent, right?
Mhm,
Now I have this folder. I can just take those signed documents and drop them up into that other folder. That way I don't have to look at them anymore, but I know that they're still there if I needed to reference them back. Does that make sense?
Okay, so instead of archiving them, you would do that.
That's what I do with that's what I personally would do.
Okay. Okay,
Good, good.
thank you.
You're so welcome. And I'm running out of time, but we did start a little bit late. I was going to show you guys opportunities on the go, but you guys can see it in your Command app. I want to make sure that you can ask any questions before we close. Anybody have any questions about anything we looked at today? I'm going to drop this resource into the chat one more time. I always like giving resource guides with my stuff. In case you guys need it, it will add it to your Google Drive. You can reference it later. Rosemary, I'm so glad that you learned something new. William, I'm glad that that's going to save you time. Yay. Awesome, guys. Well, pending you don't have any questions, I'm going to let you guys have a little break before we move into the next more exciting than, paperwork section with the amazing John.
Awesome. Thank you, Monica. This was, look back at chat because you taught them a lot of stuff that maybe it's just like a little underutilized, or maybe they just don't use it a ton. So lots of really, really great stuff there. So thank you. And thank you so much for your resources. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
All right, so we are going to take just a little break, you guys. It's 1:58. We'll come back maybe a minute after or so, and we will finish out the day with campaigns with some absolutely incredible things that you're going to hear from John. So stay tuned for that. Call a friend and say, jump on this Zoom. You've got to see this. It's incredible. So we're going to pause for just a second, stop the recording, and then we'll start back up in about 3 minutes.